So, it's review time again with me, Antonow 2, and today everything will be about this baby here, the VK3601H. And this is a tank that I wasn't exactly looking forward to playing, but after a while getting used to this tank, I actually really did enjoy playing it. Yeah, it's actually quite a lot of fun if you kind of figure out how to use this tank at its full potential. So the reason I got this tank and was playing this tank is because in patch 8.5, so we're talking version 8.4, but in patch 8.5 there'll be a new German medium tank line that will go from the DB to the Leopard 1 at tier 10, and there'll be the Indian Panzer at tier 8 and the Leopard Prototype A at tier 9. So I've heard a lot of the Leopard, and if you want to have some information on it, make sure to check out my previews on patch 8.5. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Leopard 1 a lot, and of course I want to get it, so that's why I'm playing the VK3601H, because I want to get the DB, and from there I want to get the Leopard 1. Now I've been playing this tank really a lot. This is the only tank I've been playing for the last 5 days, I think. The reason for that is because after patch 8.5 it won't be possible anymore to get to the DB from the VK3601H. The VK3601H will only lead up to the Tiger and not to the DB anymore. So I wanted to make sure to research the DB before the patch was released. Now, as you can see, I've got enough experience to research it. But before I do that, I just wanted to review the VK3601H. So yeah, let's have a look at the modules of this tank. First of all, the stock equipment is okay on this tank. It's not particularly good, but it's not particularly bad. A lot of the equipment carries over from the tanks that lead up to the VK3601H, like for example this gun, but of course that doesn't really interest you all that much because this gun belongs to the stock equipment, so you get it anyway. Then the top radio carries over, so you can fit that straight away without doing any research. And if you research this tank from the Panzer IV or the VK3001H, you had this gun on one of those two tanks, you'll be able to fit this gun onto the VK as well. Then you can mount all modules onto the tank with the stock suspension, so you don't have to research better tracks to be able to fit any modules. All of them are compatible with the stock tracks. So all the same, you want to research these tracks. The reason for that is because the stock suspension really sucks in traverse speed. 24 degrees per second, that's really bad. No way, that's really so bad, and it's really annoying in a game because it just turns that slow. 27 degrees traverse speed on the tier 6 tracks isn't all that great either, but it's a lot better than on the stock equipment. As for the guns, you can research both of these guns pretty cheaply, but I wouldn't recommend you to research these guns. This gun has got a really high penetration and good accuracy and reload time, so you can do good sniping with this gun, but the damage really sucks. It's got about 50 damage. Don't get this gun. It's better to stick with this gun than this gun, although this gun is tier 8 and this gun is tier 5. As for the 10.5cm gun, that gun is good on tanks like say the Panzer IV or the Hetzer, but it's really bad on the VK because the VK is a tier 6 tank in the tier 6 tank you'll be facing other tier 6 tanks, tier 7 tanks, and sometimes even tier 8 tanks. And let's have a look at the penetration of this gun. 64mm penetration. No way this is going to do you. Half the time you won't be able to penetrate the side armor of your opponents, not even mentioning the front armor. So forget both of these guns. Best stick with this gun till you've researched the turret. After you've researched the second turret, get this gun, then this gun, and then you should get the improved suspension. Last of all, you should research your motors, because speed isn't all that essential for this tank. This tank will never be fast, no matter what motor or suspension you've got. It will only do 40 kilometers per hour. The acceleration will be a lot better with this motor, but this tank isn't supposed to be fast, and this tank doesn't need to be fast, because the style of gameplay of the VK3601H it's more like a heavy tank, you know, concerning the gameplay. So, as you can see, I didn't research these motors. The reason for that is because, as I already mentioned, I wanted to get the DB as fast as possible. So, these motors added together, I would have had to spend almost 3,000 experience points on them, and the VKDB costs 45,000 experience points. That doesn't make any sense. If you want to get both of these tanks, or if you just want to keep this tank for, you know, just fun or credit farming or I don't know what, having the best motors is a good idea. But if you just want to, as quick as possible, get the next tank, don't bother about the motors. So let's have a look at the rest of the stats. 850 HP is pretty good. It's at the upper end of tier 6, especially as this is a medium tank. 41 to almost 43 tons is pretty good as well. That's quite a lot of weight for a tier 6 tank. Again, especially as this is a medium tank, so you could kind of figure that this tank is good at ramming, but isn't, because the acceleration just isn't good enough. If you've got the top motor on it, it might be, but the way I've got this tank, and the way I would recommend you to do it as well, it isn't that good at ramming, just because it lacks the acceleration and the speed. Talking of speed, 40 kilometers per hour is decent. It's not very fast really, especially as this is a medium tank again, but this tank doesn't really play like a medium tank. It's more like a heavy tank really. So 40 kilometers is pretty nice. Traverse speed 27 degrees per second. That's bad. I said that already. It's not super bad. Super bad is the first tracks with 24, but 27 degrees per second is okay. I can live with that, and I hope you can too. The armor. You've got 100mm at the front of the hull, 60 at the side, 60 at the rear. That's pretty good. That's the best armor that any of the tier 6 medium German tanks has. So yeah, that's nice. The problem with the armor is that it isn't sloped very well. As you can see, it actually isn't sloped at all, and it isn't angled or anything. But that's not that bad, because what you can do is you can angle your hull very, very easily. And if you angle your hull at about this angle, that will make it a lot more difficult for enemies to penetrate you from the front. And, you know, if they're aiming at the side of course. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Then, if we look at the back of the hull, this is where the motor is. And you can see that there's a lot of spaced armor around the motor. There are these two boxes here. They are spaced armor. And then there's this kind of cooler at the back that acts as spaced armor as well. So, your motor's protected pretty well. And if you're shooting at this tank from the side, try not to shoot here, try to shoot here, because yeah, this spaced armor is just in the way, and it just makes it a lot more difficult to penetrate this tank. So, the turret, 100mm at the front, and the gun mantle is pretty good. It's pretty big and looks pretty strong too. You will be penetrated from the front of the turret, but you will have a lot of ricochets as well. About 40% of the shots aimed at this tank will ricochet. Besides the turret, 80mm, everything can penetrate that. Rear 80 is pretty good for rear armor, but it still isn't good enough to deflect any shots. So, yeah, that's for the armor. Shell damage 165 to 275. That's pretty good. That's actually quite a lot. The firepower is pretty good on this gun. Penetration 99 to 165mm. That's okay. It's not good really. It's not absolutely bad or something, but just isn't very good. Rate of fire 8.11 rounds per minute. That's okay as well. It's nothing special. It's not super bad. It's not super good. It's just, okay. The turret traverse speed 26 degrees per second it's kind of sluggish. So if you're being circled by a scout, make sure to turn your turret and your hull at the same time in the same direction, so that you can perhaps get him. But as your hull turns pretty slow as well, even some medium tanks will be able to circle you, so that can be pretty depressing if you're being circled and killed by something like a T-34 or something like that. So yeah, view range 370 meters is pretty good for a tier 6 tank, and 710 meter signal range is quite good as well. So yeah, that was enough for the time being of garage talk. Let's see some gameplay. So I've spawned in steps, and the matchmaking is pretty good. It's a tier 6 game, and well, half the tanks are tier 6 in the game, so that's not all that nice, but it's kind of upper average for this tank. So I've headed for this kind of part of the map which is the furthest away from the encounter base. I like to go down here in this map, I usually always do. And there's a Jagdpanzer 4 there, so I can just still get behind this rock face before he gets a shot at me, so I'm kind of looking there. And there you could just see how a shot ricocheted from my spaced armor down there. So yeah, that's pretty handy. And I get my first kill. So that's a T1 heavy tank, that was. And now I'm going to go for that T-34-85. So he tries to do a carousel maneuver with me, but of course that isn't all that good because I'm beside a rock face, so he decides to drive on and I get him in the rear. So that was kind of a pretty stupid thing of him to do, and I profited from it. So yeah, that's good. So sorry for that lag just there. I don't know what was the cause for that. So yeah, there's a Panzer 4, and the other Panzer 4 kills him. So no, it actually isn't the Panzer 4. Let's see who killed him. Yeah, that 82 back there killed him. Okay, so I nearly killed him, but only nearly. So yeah, I didn't. So now I'm trying to come round the back and attack the base, but before I do that, I just want to see if I can get some kills. There's a KV-1 there, but I ignore him for the time being, because yeah, I want to kind of go around. But and yeah, now we've got him kind of trapped between us, but that did kind of backfire for me, because now there's a KV-1S on my other flank, and he's kind of surrounded me there. So but as I knock out the KV-1, that kind of deals with the situation. I've got 3 kills now, and the KV-1S is down as well. So yeah, nothing's stopping me from heading to the base, so why not? There's a T1 heavy tank spotted back there, and yeah, just right now you can see the speed isn't all that great. It's not slow, but it's, just isn't great. Yeah, M4. Yeah, that was kind of an unlucky shot there. You see, it's just retreating. So, but now I don't know what he was thinking or I don't know what he wanted to achieve there, but he didn't achieve it. So yeah, there's a 2 VK3601s left and a T1 heavy tank. The T1 heavy tank is a team killer. So perhaps he's kind of working for our team, I don't know, but yeah, so I'm heading down there because obviously that VK3601H and the T1 heavy tank are hiding behind that rock shoulder there, just behind the base, and nobody from our team is actually daring to attack them. So if I come from the rear, there's not all that much they can do. So yeah, there goes my 4th kill. And now there's only the VK left, so I try to ammo rack him there, but I don't manage. So yeah, I just deal with him just like that. So then I do a pretty stupid thing. I aim for spaced armor because I didn't know that was spaced armor at that point yet, but I got him all the same, so who cares. And my 6th kill. So 6 kills, that's pretty nice with this tank. Yeah, I enjoy playing this tank a lot. I didn't think I would, but I do, and I got quite a lot of these games with, say, 6 kills in them, or 5 kills, or 4 kills. So that's mostly due to the gun. The gun's really good, the firepower is really nice, and yeah, I like this tank. It's kind of rounded up pretty well. So yeah, I recommend it a lot. And if I wouldn't need the money to get the DB, I would perhaps keep it, you know, for credit farming or so, because yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, back to the garage. So I'm just going to quickly say another few things to tactics in this tank, how you should play this tank. So first of all, the most important thing is that you always angle your hull when you face an enemy. Never face an enemy like this, always face them like this. That's the best thing you can do, because yeah, angling this hull will really give you about another 30 millimeters of effective armor. So yeah, just do that. Make sure to do that. Don't forget. It's very important. If you're being circled by a scout, if he tries to do a carousel maneuver, turn your hull and your turret. Very important. And yeah, another good idea with this tank is, as I already said, you can play it a bit like a heavy tank. So it's a good idea to hide behind corners and drive out to take a shot and then drive back in, because your reload time isn't all that fast. You shouldn't play this tank like a traditional medium tank. The simple reason for that is because it just hasn't got the speed and maneuverability to do the job. Like, you can't do flanking maneuvers all that well, or say a carousel maneuver, stuff like that. Just except if it's very, very necessary, just leave that to faster tanks. This tank can do flanking if it has to, but it's best to, you know, stick with the other heavy and medium tanks in the main push of your team, and always try to get at the sides of your enemy. So if an enemy shows you his side, always shoot at it, never at the enemy's front if it can be avoided, because your penetration isn't that good. Another important thing with a VK is to know the weak spots of your enemies, of the enemies that you'll likely have. So a lot of tanks, say, have got these little machine guns in the front of their hull. If you're face hugging an enemy, make sure always to aim at these weak spots. It can happen that your gun depression isn't good enough to do that, because your gun depression isn't all that good. If it isn't good enough, try to you know, back off and take a shot at those weak spots, and then quickly drive forwards again, because your effective turret armor is better than your hull armor because of angling of the gun mantle, and you know, the gun mantle, it kind of acts as extra spaced armor. So yeah, if you're in single combat and dealing with a lot of enemy tanks at once, that's a pretty difficult situation for this tank. I would recommend you just try to get out of there or quickly call for allied support, because this tank isn't made for dealing with a lot of enemies at once. You can easily destroy Tier 5 and 4 tanks in single combat, but I wouldn't recommend you to seek out single Tier 6 or higher heavy tanks and start single combat with them, because you'll probably lose that duel, because they just have better firepower and armor than you. So yeah, again, try to hide behind houses for firing and pick your enemies with caution. In the following minutes, I will be saying stuff about equipment and crew skills that are important for this tank. So that's only really interesting for you if you're planning on keeping this tank for a long while, say because you want to get the DB and the Tiger, or if you just want to do farming with this tank, or if you just enjoy playing this tank and just want to keep it for a long while, then this is interesting for you. If that doesn't occur for you, you can actually just skip these minutes of the video, because you won't reach 100% crew experience if you just get the Tiger or the DB, or if you're just kind of quickly rushing through this tank to get a Tier 7 tank. So for those of you who aren't, for crew skills, I would definitely recommend repair skill for all of your crew members as first skill, because if this tank gets tracked or a module is damaged, the repair time is that long. It really gets on your nerves. So repair skill is very important. Consider swapping the repair skill for Brothers in Arms when you've got that 100% and training it again as second skill, because as I already said, this tank plays a bit like a heavy tank, and for heavy tanks, Brothers in Arms is very, very important. So Brothers in Arms could be a good idea. For the commander, Sixth Sense is not bad. That can be very useful. Sixth Sense here, and Recon is a quite good thing to have as well. Consider Jack of all trades as well, because your crew members get wounded pretty often in this tank. Jack of all trades could be good. If you like this skill, get that as well. The gunner, you should of course get repairs, maybe Brothers in Arms if you like it. Then snapshot, get snapshot. That's pretty important. Yeah, I definitely get snapshot. Then the driver, again repairs, Brothers in Arms, and smooth ride is a good idea, but I would really recommend you on this tank to get clutch braking. Clutch braking will improve this tank's traverse speed, and the traverse speed is the point in the stats for this tank as war start. So clutch braking is a very good idea, and off-road driving is good as well. Controlled impact, as I already said, ramming isn't all that great on this tank, so don't bother about that. Clutch braking, off-road driving, smooth ride, those are very, very important. The radio operator. So, repair, Brothers in Arms. Then, situational awareness is good, especially if you've got recon on your commander. If you plan to play this tank a lot in, say, platoons or clan wars even, although this isn't the kind of tank you will be playing in clan wars, but if you want to play it in tank companies or so on, relaying is not bad. Then otherwise, if you don't plan on playing this tank in, say, tank companies, a signal boosting is a good idea as well. So then last of all, we've got the loader. Repair, Brothers in Arms. Then we've got these three skills, the specific skills. Safe storage isn't really necessary because this tank nearly never gets ammo racked. Don't bother about that. Adrenaline Rush, I wouldn't recommend that either, because 10% of the HP of this tank are 85 HP, and how often do you ever have 85 HP? Not ever, really. Don't bother about that. Intuition is no good either, because you won't be switching between ammo types on this tank. If you've got this gun, you won't be. But if you've got the one of the, like, just quickly go to the research. If you've got one of these two guns, Intuition might be a good idea, because you'll be switching between premium ammunition and normal ammunition, probably. So yeah, consider Intuition. Sorry, I can't really, I've got problems pronouncing that word. Intuition for the loader. So yeah, then for equipment, definitely get improved ventilation, because it's very cheap on this tank and it's good on this tank. It's usually not good on premium tanks, but on this tank it is good. So yep, get it, especially if you've got BIA on your crew. Then you should get the medium caliber tank gun rammer, and then it would be a good idea to also get the enhanced gun lane drive. I would get these three equipments: improved ventilation, medium tank gun rammer, enhanced gun lane drive. Coated optics might be a good idea. If you're a fan of coated optics, you could swap enhanced gun lane drive for coated optics or binocular telescope. So yeah, it's your choice. But for the first two equipments, I would take improved ventilation and the tank gun rammer. So yeah, of course, for your consumables, fire extinguisher, small repair kit, and your first aid kit, you could perhaps swap your fire extinguisher for the 100 octane gasoline, because that will improve this tank's speed a lot, and traverse speed and so on. That's good to have on this tank, but it's very expensive using that, so think twice before doing that. And I wouldn't really recommend you to enter a battle without the manual fire extinguisher on this tank, because this tank is a prototype of a Tiger, and everybody knows how fast a Tiger can burn, so obviously that occurs for this tank too. Although it has spaced armor, you get a lot of engine fires, so I wouldn't recommend the gasoline, really. I would stick with the fire extinguisher. So yeah, we're kind of through with this tank. Keep in your mind what I told you about it while you're on the battlefield with it. Especially important is not to rush into a duel with heavy tanks, and the other tactics I told you. You should mind them as well. If you do, this tank will be quite much fun of you. It was a lot more fun for me than I expected it would be. And yeah, now that I've reviewed it, I can at last research the VKDB and sell this tank. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you liked it, and see you next time. Bye bye.